Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Wizards podcast. It's your host, the real Ed Oliver. You can follow me on Twitter at EDTOOFLATT. And we do have special guest at MavsDraft on Twitter, NBA draft expert Richard Stayman. And before we get started, I just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. This episode is also brought to you by Arcade One Up. Locked On is partnering with Arcade One Up to give away 3 free NBA Jam Shaq machines. Stay tuned for later in the show to learn how to enter. All right, so today we're going to get into AJ Griffin. We're going to see. We're just going to talk with MavsDraft and see if he thinks there's a possibility that AJ Griffin will drop to Big Ten. Is he a possibility for the Washington Wizards? But how are you feeling today, man?
Hey, I'm excited. We're now 1 week away from the NBA draft, so all the speculation, it's around the corner to coming into fruition.
Yeah. Does it feel like Christmas for you?
Honestly, I think the draft season peaked around the combine. I see too many takes where I'm like, wait, what? Like that makes me. There are too many people who just started watching. And this is not like to crap on anybody who's like just trying to learn, but like there are people who talk like they've been, doing this stuff big, whatever, forever, and then they're like, no, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, wait, what? So that part really annoys me because this is the time when all those people come out. But I also do love it because this is the time where people actually finally care what I have to say. So I'm excited for that.
Draft casuals. I'm not an expert by any means, but I think I'm above the casual level. I'll give myself a little bit of credit on that. But yeah, no, I don't know why anybody would argue with you, if they haven't watched many of the games. But AJ Griffin, quick profile here. He's about 6'6", went to Duke University. If anybody, didn't watch him at all, 6'6", 222 pounds, was a freshman this past year, 10 points a game, 3.9 rebounds per game, 1 assist per game, 49% from the field, and he shot 44.7% from the three-point line this season, which is really, really good. Yeah, he shot 44.7% from the three-point line. Where do you have AJ Griffin on your big board?
Yeah, he's somebody who I'm not taking him out of my top 10. I have him currently number 7, probably the final spot I'll put him at.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I know you have Benedict Mathurin in front of him, which, the consensus probably has Benedict behind him, but I love Benedict, so I don't have much of an argument there. If the Wizards took him before, if AJ Griffin's still on the board and they took Benedict, I would not be upset with that at all. But with AJ Griffin, I know you just put out his shot chart as well. What are some of his elite traits for people who don't know who AJ Griffin is?
Yeah, AJ Griffin's a really intriguing player. I think for the first 2 months of the season, we really didn't get to see the full version of himself. Came off a couple lower body injuries that had kept him out for a while to end high school. And I don't think he ever had surgery on anything. So that's good at least. But his shot was just elite. I mean, for most of the year, 50%, 49% from 3, really good sample size. Just shot everywhere from 3. It wasn't like he was just hitting corner threes, just hitting top of the key threes. He was doing everything from 3. And I think he's a good athlete, getting some of that athleticism back following the injury. And I think a low-key trait for him is the ability to catch and drive on spot-up attempts. So the whole spot-up portfolio, whether it's simply just catch and shoot, pump fake, dribble, take the shot, or drive off of those pump fakes, he can do a lot.
Definitely. And where do you rank him on your big board of shooters in this class?
He's top 3 just because, somebody who shoots 50% in a role that translates perfectly to what he's going to do in the NBA as an off-ball player. And also in, high major top team in the country. They went to the Final Four. They went to the championship game. It was a very translatable role. And I think that number, well, yes, he will not shoot 47% or whatever it was from 3 in the NBA. He's still likely to have multiple seasons shooting 40% from 3 in the NBA.
Definitely, yeah. As I alluded to on Twitter, if you follow MavsDraft, he put out a shot chart of AJ Griffin, and everywhere on the board basically was firing hot red. We talk about NBA Jam. It was like red across the whole board I retweeted it this morning. But the injuries. So, do you see there's a possibility where he could fall to pick 10 with the Wizards? We did the ultimate mock draft for Locked On, and he fell to pick 10 for the Wizards. And I was like, I can't pass up on him, because he's really not supposed to be there at pick 10, in my opinion. But why do you see him? Why do you see that there's a possibility that he could fall to pick 10? And I just feel like some of the buzz about him hasn't really been there like it was during the later part of the college season.
Yeah, and I'd argue almost that might be a good thing because that would probably mean his medicals are checking out. I think if you heard more about him being like, hey, AJ Griffin's health is in question, that might be more of a concern. But I think you're looking at, for AJ Griffin, why he might be there at 10. Simply, teams are going to go for the higher upside guys. Even though AJ Griffin should be one of those higher upside guys that teams are targeting, they're going to look at the Benedict Mathurin, the guy who can pass a lot more, I think, as a better defender. But, AJ Griffin kind of struggled on the defensive end. Shaedon Sharpe is somebody who has super high athleticism, high upside mystery guy. Jalen Duren. I think it's just some of those high upside young players. Even though AJ Griffin is very young, I think teams are going to look for those ultimate superstar upside players before the high end, either, best shooter in the draft or just a star player.
Definitely. I could see that there. But I do want to get to some more of your tweets about AJ Griffin. You talked about his passing and his ball handling. I want to talk a little bit more about his offensive game. We'll get to the defense too. There have been some strong concerns about his defense. But before we do get to that, this episode is brought to you by Built Bar. I actually just got the Built Bar mud pie in the mail as we speak this morning. I got it. You know how our friends at Built are always coming out with amazing new flavors? Well, this time Built has truly outdone themselves with their new mud pie flavor. And for the first time ever, Built is introducing the new mud pie flavor in both mud pie bar and mud pie puff. Mud pie, it tastes really good. I already tried it. It was really good. If you're not convinced, luckily we saved the best for last. It's actually good for you. No, really. All Built products are low calories, high protein, and low sugar. Mud pie is packed with 16 grams of protein and only 150 calories and 8 grams of sugar. It's like your mom baked the most deliciously creamy chocolate mud pie and wrapped it up just for you. What's great about mud pies Built is that all their bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and it's good for you. You're going to love the new mud pie Built Bar and Built Puff. Whether you need a snack for your workout, a late night treat, or just need to grab a quick bite, Built is the perfect protein bar and they taste better than a candy bar. Chocolate mousse, whipped cream, cookies and cream crumble. Stop drooling. Get to Built.com to order your box of mud pie bars and puffs now. You won't regret it. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. We have an important favor to ask you. We put together a survey so we can learn more about listeners like you and make your favorite Locked On podcast even better. This is your opportunity to tell us what you like and don't like about Locked On Podcasts. Go to LockedOnPodcast.com/LockedOnSurvey right now to get started. It won't take very long, and everyone that completes the survey can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. To take our audience survey, go to LockedOnPodcast.com/survey. Thanks for your help. All right, so I do want to get to the tweet and just ask about his playmaking. So you put up a clip and you said his handle looks pretty good on this smooth play against Miami where he had a solid game. And then you also said AJ Griffin's passing is really underrated, especially on the move. 1 assist per game undersells his passing ability. So what were your thoughts on his playmaking ability? And is there any ball handling or one-on-one shot creation that he has that you think will translate to the NBA?
Yeah, he's not the only person on this Duke team that this is true about. But, when you play five NBA players on any given time on a floor in college, it's really hard to balance that. And I think AJ's passing is underrated. I think Mark Williams could have the same thing said about him. I mean, every single person you go down the line, if they were put with maybe just one other NBA prospect, their assist numbers probably skyrocket. So with AJ Griffin, it's a flash. He does have a nice inside out dribble that he can do, and it goes low. He has a low handle. It's tight. He doesn't bring it in far in front of the defender, anything like that. Also has a couple moves to step back and just get to his spot on jump shots. But his passing is really nice too, because even though he does do some jump passes and whatnot, it's not ideal. He still knows. I think you can see the pattern. You can see what he sees. And sometimes you do have to jump to get to certain spots. You can't make every pass on the ground. Would you like to see it cut a little bit? Yes. But ultimately, the jump passes, I don't really worry about. His vision is strong. Again, coming out of those catch and drives, he sees Mark Williams under the rim. He knows how to get to him. He sees Paolo spotting up for three. He knows how to get to him. And I think that's a really special combination to work with as a foundation of playmaking upside.
Yeah, it was definitely intriguing. Like you talked about earlier, he had 3 or 4 NBA players on the team. Trevor Kills has to get his buckets. Paolo has to get his buckets. A lot of isolation plays for Paolo are I'm probably butchering his name, aka Patrick Mahomes, and they had to get the ball to Wendell Moore, and Mark Williams has to get his baskets. And I didn't even bring up Roach, so Roach has really played really well. And he got a lot of shots in the Final Four and had some big games in the tournament. So I think that shows the upside of AJ Griffin. And I almost forgot to bring up the base on his shot. It's very different. His dad played in the NBA and he's an assistant coach. So I don't think his dad would allow him to, play ball with, a funky shot base, to be honest. So what are your thoughts on his base? Do you think he should change it at all? Or do you think that's translatable to the league?
Well, my completely biased perspective, just like growing up having played basketball, like I like a shoulder to shoulder note, like maybe a little bit less. So his violates that by a lot. He definitely has the widest base. So obviously
Mhm.
I'm a little bit biased myself, but I do think, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Donovan Mitchell has a really wide base. It works for him. And I don't know, it's not a death wish. It's just really unconventional. And I wonder, will NBA teams be able to get him more easily, affect him more easily? I don't know, but if it works, keep going with it.
Hmm. Yeah, and as I said again, like I said before, I don't think his dad would. I mean, who knows? And it's just the pedigree there. His dad is a coach, so once again, I don't think his dad would allow him to have somewhat of a funky jumper. But um, the step backs, I saw a good amount of step backs. I saw he was able to create separation and shoot off the pull up. Do you see him be? He's capable of being a primary ball handler, or there are some times where you could call isolation for AJ Griffin.
Yeah, that's the hope, is that he can develop, I think, with his playmaking, that he can develop and do it. He calls an ISO and you trust what's about to happen. He's a straight line driver. So when you look at what he's going to do and getting to the rim, pretty limited. But in terms of perimeter creation, I think he can go left. He can dribble to his left to get to a spot. He can dribble right to a spot, go forward, immediately shift backwards. So you have a lot of versatility there. And again, just the handle, I think, on the perimeter is pretty clean. So I trust his ability to be an ISO scorer. The pick and roll scoring is going to be what really makes or breaks his individual creation ability.
Hmm. Definitely, yeah. So I do want to get to his defense and where do you see him athletically? Because I know he suffered some injuries in high school, and then he suffered. Did he suffer any injuries in college at all?
No, for the most part, he had a clean bill of health. I think there were some minor injuries, but it wasn't anything lingering.
Right. And that's why I don't buy the stock of being too concerned about his injuries. I think his medicals, I don't know, I wouldn't be able to tell you because I haven't seen the medicals, but I don't really buy the stock into passing on him because of injuries. Compared to somebody like a Michael Porter Jr. for the Nuggets who had, the back injury, that was or Bol his injury profile. Those are the injuries where I really was concerned about those guys. But I do want to get to his defense, and I really do like his athletic build. Like he looks like a linebacker or a running back out there, and I feel like he's a very physical guy that can play through physicality. And he's had a couple of nice dunks. He had a nice dunk against Carolina where he had 27 points in that game where they beat Carolina the first time, 87-67. He's had a couple breakaway dunks, some dunks in the half court. So I don't really buy too much stock personally into passing up on him because of injuries in the past, but let's get to the defense, which probably is the weakest part of his game. But before we do get to that, this episode is brought to you by Arcade One Up. Boom shakalaka. We have big news. The one, the only NBA Jam is back. Arcade One Up, the leader in at-home retro arcade games, is not only bringing the best game ever back, but they made it bigger than ever with a, wait for it, Shaq Edition machine. People are obsessed with NBA Jam, and I'm thrilled to tell our listeners that you can once again play hoops with NBA legends in this arcade classic. I used to play NBA Jam all the time on Nintendo 64 and arcades all the time back in the day. I even played it a couple of times on, PlayStation 3 when it came back out. But you can jump clear across the court and set the ball on fire. And one of the first sports games ever to feature real and digitized NBA licensed teams. No fouls, no free throws, and no quarters required. Compete with friends and family through all new Wi-Fi leaderboards, making you more connected than ever. Pre-order now from arcade1up.com. That's arcade, the number one up.com for an estimated early September ship date. Arcade One Up is the place for fun. They've got even more classics like Golden Tee, Mortal Kombat, and many others starting at just $399. Check this out. They are giving away NBA Jam Shaq Edition to a Locked On listener. Enter for a chance to win a game console for your man cave at arcade1up.com/locked on. That's arcade, the number one up.com/locked on. You got until July 8th to enter to win NBA Jam Shaq Edition console. To win a NBA Jam Shaq Edition console. Don't miss out. Enter today. Who are you going to play with? All right, so let's get to the defensive side of the ball for AJ Griffin. The Wizards were 26th in defensive efficiency. Defense is something that they are looking for. Tommy Shepard has said it. Wes Unseld Jr. has said it as well. What did you see from him defensively, and what are some concerns from AJ Griffin's defensive game?
Yeah, I'll start with the concerns. I think it's very apparent on the defensive end that he had an injury history. He just wasn't comfortable with some rotations. I think even just that kind of learning the game defensively, he was behind on just because he missed some important growth lessons. Also, I think his recovery ability with athleticism was limited. I would see him stumble a little bit more and not be able to recover, or just simply get beat and be out of the picture, which for somebody at his size, he has a 7-foot wingspan, and his athleticism overall, it's pretty unacceptable. So he had a lot of lapses, but you look at the strength and, again, that length. In theory, it should keep him in plays one-on-one. And I personally think that if teams are patient, if he can get some of that recovery ability back while learning the game, I think he has good upside. Just right now, he is very, very poor. I think you look at some of the way he navigates through screens, that he's had some flashes of that. So I think there's upside. How realistic is it? Unclear.
Right, yeah. You see he's quicker on the offensive side, like you talked about earlier. His playmaking is better, and we've seen him get off the bounce or dribble off the bounce, some between the leg moves and get to the basket. So it is interesting. It could be because of the knee injury or the lower body injury. It's just like his feet are just slower on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, on the defensive side of the ball. So if he could use the quickness that he uses on the offensive side of the ball and use it on the defensive side of the ball, I do think he would definitely stay within the top 6 as a draft pick. But those are definitely the concerns. I see some of the closeouts. He's a little slow to that. Do you see him being hunted? I've seen some scouts say that, he's a guy that he would be potentially hunted by some NBA teams.
Yeah, maybe in year one, but long term, no. I don't think it's that much of an issue. But also, a lot of rookies get hunted, so he's
Right.
not an exclusive rookie for that.
Right. Yeah, that totally makes sense. So, all right. So let's talk about the Wizards. How do you see him fitting on the Wizards team? Do you see him starting year one?
I don't think I see him starting year one. This is a team that does need depth on the wings and more shooters. I mean, you can never have enough shooters, I think, first of all, around Bradley Beal. But you look at Kristaps Porzingis, something that makes his game glow is having more shooters around him. I mean, that was some of his best lineups were the pure shooting lineups with Dallas. So I think the more shooters you get, the better. And also, Washington has a really good track record lately of developing players. AJ Griffin is probably the highest upside player that they have gotten on their roster, I would say, that they would have right now. And to me, that screams just let him develop under Beal. Beal's an easy player to develop with. I like the fit.
Definitely. Now, you might get some pushback when you said the Wizards have done a good job developing players. Of course, fans don't agree with that. But I think they've done a solid job. I just think, when you keep picking at pick 9 and pick 15 and 10, you're not going to get the juggernauts. Sure, they missed on, maybe Sadiq Bey and Halliburton and some other guys, Bones Highland. But, I agree with you. I think they've done a solid job of developing. But as far as starting, I think he could. It would just really because would you say he's more of a 3 or 2 or a 4?
Yeah, he's probably a 3. I would rather him be a 2. I would say I can see, as I was saying that, I can see a path for him being a small ball 4.
Mhm.
I don't think that's a year one thing though. So year one, you're looking at just the two wing spots, 2 and 3.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he has a build of someone. He's not as big as Grant Williams, but he does look like he could play football. So he's not that small ball 5 kind of guy, but he's a strong, stocky guy. Now, you said that he would come off the bench. So if you were the Wizards coach, would you have KCP start at the 3, or would you rather have AJ Griffin, who's more of a natural 3, start at that small forward position, and Bradley Beal be at the 2?
Well, I mean, I'm not huge on KCP, but I
Mhm.
mean, he shot 39% last year from 3. And I think,
Mhm.
you just look at his fit with how he's already gotten chemistry with Bradley Beal and experience generally in the league. I think it's going to be him. If I was running it on like 2K, yeah, I'd put AJ Griffin in the starting lineup. But also, thing is, the Wizards are still trying to make the playoffs. Like they have a serious core that could be a top, potentially, if everything goes right, 6. It's a very optimistic look, but 6, 7, 8 seed. So they're not going to start a rookie on the wings over KCP, somebody who has proven to be a winning player.
Mhm.
For me, I think that's what kind of just prevents Griffin from starting.
Right. Okay. And where would you compare him to some of the Wizards guys? The last 3 draft picks, Denny, Rui, and Corey. Where would you have him ranked among those guys?
I would first or second. I liked Rui a lot
Mhm.
coming into the NBA, so it's one or the other on those. I'm just kind of using just the pre-draft, so not
Mhm.
using what we know now. Number 2 at the worst is AJ Griffin. Number 3 is definitely Denny. And I wasn't huge on Corey Kispert. I thought he was
Mhm.
good, but he's definitely the 4th best.
Okay. Yeah, I would probably put AJ above all of them. Yeah, but I'm with you between him and Rui. But I'll probably have AJ first. So, lastly, here, if you had Dyson Daniels available at 10, Johnny Davis available at 10, who it looks like they had a workout with him and a pre-draft interview. It sounds like they like Dyson a lot too because he ran so fast on the 2-minute drill. I don't know if you heard about that,
Yep.
but which you don't want to take too much stock in. If Dyson and Johnny are there at 10, who would you take between those? AJ Griffin
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's
for the
Dyson Daniels.
Wizards.
Yeah, I don't think it's Dyson
Mhm.
Daniels.
Mhm.
For me, I know this could burn me. I'm very aware of it. I know it's tough to bet against guys with high basketball IQs, but I just worry I'm looking at a bigger Jared Culver. There's a
Mhm.
chance that we're not, and I'm just an idiot. But I don't know what to make of Dyson Daniels. I don't think he's super safe. I think the other two are safer in terms of skill set. I think AJ is kind of a risk because of health, but um, I know I know Dyson Daniels is the first player since Aaron Holiday to do the 2-minute
Mhm.
drill,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that is impressive. But I would say, look, if you're worried about the health, you take it. You take Johnny Davis, no question. He is another guy that just fits what Washington's trying to do. I think you look at defense, playmaking, and creation. But ultimately, I think I swing for the fences. You're a team desperate in keeping your star. You want to develop a star for cheap, and AJ Griffin's the chance to do it. I would recommend if you want to see the true star upside, go to YouTube, look up the highlights. They do a very good job of capturing it. Look up the highlights of the FIBA U19s, or excuse me, U16s in 2019. And AJ Griffin was healthy back then, just looked like a whole different player in terms of athleticism, just easy pop. And I
Mhm.
don't think it's unrealistic for him to get even 80% of that back.
Right. Yeah, I've heard he's looked leaner. He's lost some weight, so he is trying to get back to that athleticism that you talked about. So yeah, I like AJ a lot. I think if he's at pick 10, I think the Wizards definitely should not pass up on that opportunity at all. But I just wanted to thank you for coming on and talking about AJ Griffin. Is there anything that you want to plug coming up?
Yeah, just where I'm going to be doing stuff with the Locked On Draft NBA Draft Show on Thursday, and also next time if I'll be wearing a Wizard shirt instead of this Mavs shirt. I don't know what I was thinking with my wardrobe.
Right. Yeah. If you're watching on YouTube, he's gonna do the John Wall dance. He's not gonna do the Dougie, but the John Wall, fist bump. Oh, and then one more before you go. Who is a fair comparison? I know you don't like comparisons, but who's a fair comparison?
No, I like comparisons for players
Okay.
I have comparisons to
Mhm.
easily, and that I don't have to hunt for because so many of them are very difficult. But there's 3 levels of outcomes, I think, for him. One is a former Wizard, so I got to be careful, but I'll start with him, and I think he's kind of the low end of what I expect, and just a general production of a player, and that's Kelly Oubre. If he's terrible on
Mhm.
defense, I know Oubre actually wasn't terrible in
Mhm.
Washington on defense. He got a bad rap there, but just like, he'll do some stuff, won't necessarily pop, but has good tools. It's kind of a worst case scenario for him, I think, in a ceiling outcome. The other two are Andrew Wiggins, and that's really if the defense comes together. And then ultimately, if he hits his upside, he's a little bit more athletic, Chris Middleton, like maybe same athleticism. I buy the passing and playmaking. I think he'll be a fine defender and can score.
Okay. Yeah, so that's intriguing. Andrew Wiggins is super athletic and has been playing very well in the NBA Finals. Kelly Oubre, I guess that is worst case scenario. Not a bad player, but just the IQ sometimes was a little off here with the Wizards. But once again, I just want to thank you for coming on. And thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. The first picks of the Ultimate NBA Mock Draft have been made. Search now for Ultimate NBA Mock Draft and get over 50 insiders, the Odyssey Sports experts, the draft experts, and Locked On NBA Big Board. The 5-episode Ultimate NBA Mock Draft is underway. Make Ultimate NBA Mock Draft your second listen today. Thank you guys for listening, and hail to the Wizards. Peace.